everybody, excited utterance here, and it's Mushroom Day. It's Mushroom Day here in Australia. Actually, it's been Mushroom Day for about 2 weeks, so a little bit behind. By now, I would be in hospital. Actually, I probably would be cocked it. Yeah, because we're talking about death cap mushrooms. They're called death cap for a reason. They might kill you. Yes, so you gotta be careful what kind of mushrooms you go and find if you go foraging out in the fields. Down in the fields down in Victoria. If you don't know where Victoria is, I'll show you that in a minute. Now, the reason I'm a little bit late with this is because I didn't think that this trial was going to be this spicy, but it is. It's very spicy. I'm talking about the trial of Erin Patterson. Now, people are talking about this all over the Twitters, all over the Facebooks, all over the Googles, all over the world. Erin Patterson, she is being tried for a triple murder. Yes, and one attempted murder. Pretty sure she's still being done for one attempted murder. In Leongatha in Victoria, Australia, for making beef Wellington. That is beef covered in a lovely pastry. And she put beautiful mushrooms, which she sourced from places. And then her lunch guests fell very ill about 12 hours later. And of the 4 lunch guests, 3 of them ended up dead. One of them managed to survive, right? And, yeah, she's being done for murder. But on the flip side, they really liked their lunch. It was yummy, apparently, till they all started to get really, 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 really sick. Everyone's talking about it, and the trial has turned out to be far more interesting than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to give you as much update as I can about it. People are asking lots of questions about it. Apparently, across the world, people can't get as much information about it as we're getting here. So I've gone and picked out as many news sources as I can to get you all of the testimony from the courtroom. We don't stream our trials here unless they are there's some federal cases that get streamed, but then as soon as the day is done, they take the feed away, and you're not allowed to stream those restream them anyway. So kind of no good. Anyway, let me bring in my co-host.
Hey.
We have our token American. Hey, we have our token American here, Salvador Dali.
Yes.
Who's going to react for the rest of the world.
I am.
Yes.
And so is Junior.
Oh, and Junior. Hi. Hello. Right. So, yes, token American is going to say, oh, wow, really? Do these things really happen in Australia? And I'll be like, well, not usually.
Oh.
But, ooh, Australia. I didn't know it existed. All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I still don't.
I'll say a bit of a hello to chat. Hey, Tracy Burton. Hello. Half Irish is here. I saw somewhere that she faked cancer to get them all over for lunch. Well, allegedly. Maybe, yes. Maybe. Yes, unfortunately, trials in Aussie land aren't streamed either. No. So we're very much like Canada with a lot of outlaws.
I'm sorry.
Because we're all part of the Commonwealth. That's how I like to put it. We're all friends. DK Cripple, yes. Are you caught streamed? No. No. But we do have an interesting similar issue to everybody else, and that is that the mainstream media get into the court. They go and then report just the bits that they want to report. Yeah. So we have a situation here now where we've got the mainstream media coming out and just going, here, just have these salacious bits, right? And the public is now making their decisions about whether she's guilty or not. And you can imagine what they're saying. Yeah. So I'm going to show you some of the mainstream media reporting, and because that's all we've got, really.
Yeah.
And you'll see what I'm talking about. Hey, David. I'm allegedly more handsome than Salvador. Well, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, really. It's kind of even worse than court TV because these are just regular news channels. They don't even talk about like motions and like court stuff. They just talk about hearsay, pretty much.
Yes.
Yeah. Snibbles is here with the fire Ds. Hello, Snibbles. I would never take away the fire D emojis for you. I'll leave them there always, no matter what. Even if I have no members, like 3 members, and they give me like just one emoji, I'll keep that one just for you. Just for you. Okay, let's get into it, guys. So, Erin Patterson, there she is. And of course,
Yes.
this is the photo getting around. It is the photo of her looking very conniving, and it's just a shot of her getting out of the car to go to court on her first day, and she looks up and they managed
I
to
hope
get
things are going better for your mom.
Look at her. She's just like she just looked up, and they just happened to get like a beady eye kind of look out of her.
Of course. And then they darken the face and blacken the eyes and
a whole bit, yeah.
make it look a whole lot worse than it actually was.
Absolutely, yeah. So this is the shot they're going with now. So Erin Patterson on trial, mushroom murders of Leon Gartha.
And
Leon
also, not to
Gartha.
say she is or is not guilty. It's just
Mm.
those are the kinds of games that the media likes to play when they
Absolutely,
report these things.
absolutely, and we know all this because we're old hands at this stuff, aren't we? Hey, we're onto their games. Okay, so the story starts here. So Leon Gartha is down in Victoria,
Yes.
which is down here. Yeah, mushroom murders.
You're on the opposite side of Australia.
Opposite of to what?
I don't know. Australia is on the opposite side of the world, and that's on the opposite side of Australia, so it doesn't even exist.
No. So the opposite side of Australia is this side, right? So this is the east coast. The east coast is the best coast, right? So all the good stuff happens on the east coast. We don't really acknowledge the west coast that much because, we tried to sort of emancipate from the west coast during COVID, but or they tried to emancipate from us. Anyway, yeah, we tried to build a wall. Unfortunately, that would have been a big wall.
Pay for it.
Yeah, and make them pay for it. Well, they can afford it. They've got like a lot of resources over there. But we kind of would like to still use their resources. Moving on. I live up here. See? There's me. Hello. Sydney is about there. Our capital city is a bit further down. That's Canberra down there. Victoria is down here. The capital of Victoria is Melbourne. It's down there. I'm Bronzed. She lives down here in Tasmania, this little island down here. And Leon Gartha is just out of the main, the capital. So it's sort of more country, and it's sort of here-ish. I'm being very general, right? So yeah, she lives in Victoria. That's where this crime happened. Crime. If it's a crime, I'm airing right now. I'll just give you my little 2 cents at the moment. I'm airing towards this being a terrible accident.
Shock.
At the moment. But you know me, I like to see the best in people.
Unless you're Mark Jensen.
I was convinced of his guilt. I like to see the best in people. So at the moment, I think this may have been a big, terrible accident. But I'm in the minority, like the very, very small minority. Okay, let's go. Hey, Indy Cindy, how are you? And hey, Christine. Hey, Diane. Hello. I know you've been wanting to watch this. David, I'm not putting that on screen. Okay, so Leon Gartha, Victoria. The story starts here. Oops. And it was on July 29, 2023. So this pretty quick trial, really, considering could be considered a speedy trial, I suppose. It was put off once. There she is, and it was lunchtime.
Oh.
Lunchtime.
Narcissist.
Narcissist. People are saying narcissist, of course.
Of course.
Of course. All right. Do you like my little tree?
I do.
It's cute, isn't it? So the guests. All right. So we've got Erin Patterson, the chef. There she is. And now Simon Patterson was invited. So that's her kind of ex-husband. They were still married, right? But they're estranged. Right. So he was invited, but he said he wouldn't go.
Okay.
Right. So he was like, no, I can't make it. And she was very disappointed that he couldn't make it. Like very disappointed.
She wanted him to go to Hell's Kitchen.
Hey, Deborah Metzger, how are you? Yeah, he was
Where
very
there's a
disappointed.
fungus among us.
Well, he's not a fun guy.
Very true. Not anymore.
Well, no, he's fine. He's the escapee.
Well,
right?
okay.
Note that. See, he's the escapee because he never went. Right.
Oh.
But yeah, okay. But his parents, Gail Patterson and Don Patterson, so her in-laws, she got on really, really well with them. Okay, so they were really close. Even though they're estranged, she got along really well with them. So Gail Patterson and Don Patterson did go to the lunch. Rest in peace. All right. Now, Gail Patterson's sister, Heather Wilkinson, and her husband, Ian Wilkinson, they also went, right? And Heather Wilkinson also, rest in peace, right? So these three here, yeah. Okay, so they're the victims, okay? Ian Wilkinson, he's the survivor. I'm a survivor. That one, right? He's the survivor. Now, unfortunately for Erin Patterson, survivor means what? Someone who can testify in court, right? So he has come along and testified. And okay, she's obviously, if she's not guilty, she's very happy he survived because she was so sad that all this happened. He was in hospital for months fighting for his life. That's how bad these things are. Right?
Yeah, apparently it like affects your liver and kidneys.
Yeah, your liver just breaks down.
Kind of like mine after drinking.
Pretty much. I'm not sure how much of a sympathetic witness he was because he's pretty mad that his wife and her sister and husband. Yeah, I'm not sure whether he believes or not that she did this on purpose. I'm not 100% on how he feels, but he was a witness for the prosecution, obviously. As
just
was her straight. Yeah, just get over it. It's just a mistake.
Yeah. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah, right. But they all loved their lunch. In fact, Ian Wilkinson ate his whole lunch and then half of hers. Right? Okay. So anyway, these two are still alive, Ian Wilkinson and Simon Patterson, but these three, they all died really quickly, like within a few days.
So she only had half the lunch.
Yes. So who only had half the lunch? Heather Wilkinson.
Heather. Yeah.
Yes, and she still died.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, P.S. One thing I didn't mention is that her Erin Patterson's 2 children were there, but they don't eat mushrooms. They don't like mushrooms, right? So she made separate beef Wellingtons for them with no mushrooms in them.
Jeez.
Now, we've known this all along. We've known this since she was charged or before she was charged. And people have always kind of thought this was a bit weird, right? How come the kids didn't get sick? How come she made separate ones for them? I've never found this weird, right? Yeah. To me, this is very normal. You got 2 kids and they're like, I hate veggies. And if you're making separate portions, you just make separate portions that don't have the veggies in them. So to me, that is just not.
I hate mushrooms too. So
yeah, I'm like, that's not a sign of guilt whatsoever. It's curious to me that she didn't like get really sick. That Erin Patterson didn't get really, really sick.
She ate it herself too.
Yeah, supposedly. So she made one for herself. That part's curious to me. So All right, let's move on. So we know now who the victims are. We know, like, the players. So remember this. This was about a year ago. And this is a bit more, about 18 months ago. And this was when she was caught by the... Actually, no, this was not a year ago. This was when it all happened, when she found out that they were dead, and then the other one, Ian, was in hospital fighting for his life, and the police were starting to question, and the media got hold of it, right? And this actual piece of footage was dissected by a bunch of true crime people. In fact, Dr. G and the body language
Really?
panel and all those idiots, yep, they all got hold of this. Yep. This went quite viral. In fact, this is probably the reason why worldwide attention got onto this case, because of this piece of footage. So watch this.
It's a tragedy what's happened.
Can you tell us about the meal that you cooked?
I don't
I'm
see any
sorry.
tears.
Devastated by what's happened, by the loss of Don. Don is still in hospital. The loss of Ian and Heather and Gail, who were some of the best people that I've ever met. Gail was like...
Take your time.
Gail was the mum that I didn't have because my mum passed away 4 years ago. And Gail's never been anything but good and kind to me. And Ian and Heather were some of the best people I've ever met. They never did anything wrong to me, and I'm so devastated about what's happened.
Can you tell us
And
a
the
bit?
loss to the community and to the families and to my own children who've lost their grandmother.
Can you tell us a bit more about the lunch?
It was delicious.
What I can tell you is that I just can't fathom what has happened. I just can't fathom what has happened. That Ian and Heather have lost their lives, and Gail has lost her life, and Donna's still in hospital. And I pray that he pulls through, because my children love him.
And you must be pretty shaken up by this as well.
Yeah, she looks like
I'm
it.
devastated. I love them. And I can't believe that this has happened, and I'm so sorry that they have lost their lives.
And gave me a 1-star review.
She
How are
looks
you
pretty,
feeling?
like she's genuine to me.
Just can't believe it.
Can you tell us where the mushrooms came from?
She had
I don't
already
know.
turned to leave, by the way. It looks like.
I picked them up in the backyard.
Or is she going to show him where the mushrooms came from?
Just get out of my way.
Were they picked from the property
I
area?
just ask you,
She's got a
leave me alone
Woolworths.
now, please.
Police say you're a suspect. Do you have anything to say about
Yes,
that?
I say I didn't do anything. I love them. And I'm devastated that they're gone.
Well, like,
And
you
I
cooked
hope
lunch.
with every fibre of my being that Don pulls through. That's
Where
what I
did the
have to
mushrooms
say.
come from?
Where's
Did
the
they
mushrooms
pick
come
from
from?
you, or where did they come from, Erin? Can you tell us?
Nice house.
What meal
Bye.
did you cook them? Did you eat the same meal, Erin?
Would have been so based
Okay,
if she
so-
came back out and offered to make them lunch.
Do you want to come in for some lunch? I'm making mushroom stew. She was in shock and horror. And, like, this is the thing, right? Like, people went and took that piece of video. And look, see this. Look, there's Dr. G up there. Can you see the top left-hand corner one? Right? Australian mushroom poisoning. Psychologist analyzes behavior and body language.
Oh, please. He
What do
didn't
you-
study Australian behavior.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just how we behave. Erin Patterson, close up, body language. What do you think that they said about her? I'm not going to play it. Right? What do you think they said about her? That she's lying and she's a narcissist. Right? I thought she looked pretty goddamn genuine there. What do you guys think? Oh, they fell ill within 12 hours. Because, okay, the way it works is that these mushrooms, they don't make you sick until they get past your stomach, right? So they have to get into your intestines. You need to actually have started properly digesting them. And by then it's too late.
Yeah.
Right.
The
So
poison.
you feel fine until like they've started to break right down. So, and yeah, once like I don't know how to explain it, but once it gets into the liver starts to break down. So I don't know how this Ian dude survived.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, also they resist changes due to heat, so the toxic effects is not reduced by cooking.
Oh, right.
I mean, according to Wikipedia. Also, possibly in Roman Emperor Claudius in 54 AD and Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI in 1740 were victims of this.
Who, what, where, when?
Two people in history were victims of the death cap. Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI and Roman Emperor Claudius in 54 AD.
There you go. Deborah, yes, she is familiar with mushroom hunting. She does forage for mushrooms and she doesn't hide it. This is really an interesting thing that's going to come up, right? So people seem to think that this is some evidence of guilt, whereas I see it as an evidence of like exculpatory evidence because
Weirdo,
if well, it's an odd thing to do, but she doesn't hide it. Like she talks to her friends online about it. In fact, she visits she uses an app called iNaturalist, right? And people go and post photos of things that they find out when they're foraging or out in the wild, and they go, "Oh, look at this interesting thing that I found!" Like it can be flora and fauna, like it can be a koala, right?
Yeah, and well, according to Wikipedia, these toxic mushrooms resemble several edible species, including the Caesar's mushroom and the straw mushroom.
Yes, they look like straw mushrooms too. Yes, and straw mushrooms are perfectly edible.
Yeah.
So apparently she'd been using this app and telling her friends about it and going, yeah, I go out and forage for mushrooms and maybe other herbs and things like that. So if she does that regularly and it's part of her, like she's a gourmet cook, she likes cooking, right? If that's something that she does, this could be an accident, right? But my question is, how did she not get so sick?
Unless she's, I don't know. I mean, in theory, you could probably build up a tolerance if you ingest very little at a time.
Or maybe it's just an accident that she didn't get that into hers. Yeah. I don't know.
Or they got more mushrooms than her.
Yeah.
I mean, just,
okay.
Well, yeah.
Let's watch the first week.
Hi, I'm Penelope Liush, co-host of Nine's newest podcast, Say Grace, where we're following the trial of Erin Patterson,
Say Grace,
who's been accused of murdering her 3 in-laws and attempting to murder a 4th after serving a meal of beef Wellington with death cap mushrooms at her home in the Gippsland region of Victoria in July 2023. In the first week of the trial, we've heard that Erin Patterson is accused by the prosecution of telling a string of lies, and her defence admits she did lie, but say she's not a killer.
As Erin Patterson sat in the dock on day 1 of her murder trial, tears flooded her eyes. Head prosecutor Nanette Rogers SC making explosive allegations.
Yeah, the prosecutor. That's the prosecutor. Yeah. She reminds me of somebody. Pardon?
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just like she reminds me of somebody like maybe like someone from the Golden Girls. Not sure.
My PE teacher in middle school.
About the fateful lunch in July 2023. She told the court Miss Patterson invited her ex-husband's parents, auntie and uncle to her home in Leongatha because she had news about a lump on her elbow, telling them her children wouldn't be there. The prosecution says when the guests arrived, Ms. Patterson plated the meal which she prepared beforehand. It included individually wrapped beef Wellingtons, mashed potato and beans. The beef was coated in mushrooms and wrapped in pastry. There were 4 dark grey plates and 1 smaller orange plate, which Ms. Patterson took for herself.
Now I'm joined by my colleague, 9 News court reporter Amber Johnston. Amber, let's go through a little bit of this week, starting with the court itself and everything that's been happening. Erin Patterson, she of course has been in there with us in the dock.
Absolutely, and how interesting has it been to be able to see her in court and also to see her demeanour and how she's been behaving when the jury's been in the room. So she's been wearing a different coloured sweater each day. It was a pink sweater on the first day. Today she was wearing a green sweater. And in regards to her demeanour, she's either been looking straight ahead at the judge or at times she's glanced at the jury.
Yeah.
But there's also actually been times she's been quite emotional and we've seen her crying as well in the courtroom.
And we'll go through some of that now, Amber. So, of course, everything starts with the opening statements, which is where the prosecution, first because they bring the charges, they lay out their case, basically a roadmap of what the jury is going to hear through this evidence. Now, Nanette Rogers, SC, she is the Crown prosecutor prosecuting this case, and she spent a number of hours on the opening statements. Some of the things that came from that, Amber, I think that really stood out was the fact that Erin Patterson has been accused of lying about a fake cancer diagnosis to bring her in-laws to her home on the day of this deadly lunch.
Well,
that was
there
really
is that.
interesting.
Okay, so that kind of screws you, right? So she lied about having cancer. Yeah.
Are there messages of this?
Yeah. And there's also testimony of it as well. So the husband and the escapee, the survivor, they both said that she had cancer and she didn't have cancer. So people who lie about having cancer, that's kind of not a good thing. Right, but okay. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. So just because you're a big fat liar doesn't mean you're a murderer necessarily. Yeah.
Allegation that the prosecution put forward. So they basically said that the whole point of this lunch is that Erin Patterson had some health news that she wanted to share to her ex-husband Simon Patterson and his family, which is why she invited them over. We learnt that Simon said no to that invitation, but of course his mum and dad, auntie and uncle did go around to the lunch. And that is when she announced after the meal that she had in fact had a cancer diagnosis. She said she had a lump on her elbow that she had a biopsy on earlier, and it turns out it was ovarian cancer, I believe she claimed to have had. But then there was a really interesting twist later in the day in regards to that.
So, Amber, the prosecution initially put all of these elements forward as allegations as part of this opening address, but it was more of their allegations that they also laid out to the jury. They've alleged that Erin Patterson had lied about the fact she'd got the mushrooms from an Asian grocer somewhere in Melbourne. They alleged that she also had lied to police about getting rid of a food dehydrator following the lunch. They alleged that she also lied about the fact that she says she gave the lunch, the leftovers at least, after scraping off the mushrooms and pastry to her children for dinner that night. Now, it's the prosecution's allegation that despite presenting to hospital with symptoms, Erin Patterson herself had not actually ingested the death cap mushrooms and didn't have death cap mushroom poisoning, and that when she was in the hospital system, the fact that she was cautious and at times had left and then returned showed that she didn't really want herself or particularly her children to be tested, the allegation being that that was because they had not ingested these death cap mushrooms. But I think, as you're alluding to, Amber, when we heard the defence opening statement, now this is much shorter, and the defence barrister Colin Mandy SC, who's representing Erin Patterson, made it very clear in his statements that while he does have a much shorter response. That's because, as we said, the prosecution is laying out their case, and this is not the time for arguments. This is just the time for him to lay out some responses, and then it is up to the jury to decide on the evidence as it's put before them. But in the defence opening statements, Amber, is when we heard from Colin Mandy SC that Erin Patterson mostly disputes the intent in this case. He says that intent is the main issue. Intent, of course, is one of the 4 elements needed to prove murder. And he said that she never deliberately tried to poison anyone, that she never deliberately sought out death cap mushrooms.
Yeah, so once it was over to the defence, Colin Mandy SC, his argument and his defence for his client is that it was all a tragic accident.
Yeah.
And also he made a point of saying that she panicked when she realised that her lunch guest had fallen sick because of a meal that she had prepared. So she was really panicked. Yeah, so he said that she panicked, but it was all a tragic accident and she is certainly not a killer.
Now, as part of this, Colin Mandy also told the jurors to think really carefully about how they might behave in a situation if they found out people who had eaten lunch at their home had also fallen gravely ill, as happened in Erin Patterson's situation. They don't dispute the fact that there was death cap mushrooms in the food and that is what caused the death of 3 people and made Ian Wilkinson gravely ill. But what they do dispute is that intent. But what was admitted by the defence, Amber, of course, is that Erin Patterson did lie about a number of elements in this case.
I found that really interesting because, of course, we heard the prosecution talk for a good couple of hours for their opening arguments, and they put forward allegations that Erin Patterson lied about a number of things. But then as soon as it was over to the defence basically conceded, yes, she did lie about a number of things. They said that she lied about her cancer diagnosis. She lied about having never foraged for mushrooms before. She lied about having never owned a food dehydrator before. And also she lied about purchasing mushrooms from an Asian grocer, which was really interesting. But then the point of the defence argument is that yep, she might be a liar, but she's not a killer.
Exactly. And it does
it sounds a little bit like Alex Murdoch, doesn't it? Right? So, yeah, I lied, but I didn't kill anybody. Right? So that's not a bad strategy to just admit, just go, yeah, I lied. I panicked. I lied.
Sometimes
I lied about all this stuff.
have.
There's no point in denying that she's lied about these things if that's true, that she did lie. Right? But just being a liar doesn't make you a murderer. It is a lot of lies. I get that. And yeah, Nibbles. Oh, dear. It is absolutely boom.
Not intentional.
Beat me to it.
It seems that way from what I can tell. All right, so let's just finish this and see.
Come back down to that issue of intent. Now, what we've seen in the actual evidence that's being presented,
evidence. Come on, give us the evidence.
Jury, they must decide on the evidence, not these opening statements. The first part of the evidence was Simon Patterson, her estranged husband, coming to court to give his evidence in witness testimony. He was questioned first by the prosecution and then the defence. And we have seen him, Amber, become quite emotional during this time. While Erin Patterson at times was teary during the opening statements, it was Simon Patterson really who shed quite a lot of tears, particularly on day 1 of his testimony. He was often asking for tissues and he was seen wiping his eyes and blowing his nose during these questions.
Maybe he has a cold.
When you think about it, this is probably the first time these two have been in the same room since all of these allegations arose and since Erin Patterson was accused of poisoning not just his mum and dad, but his auntie and uncle as well. So it was incredibly emotional and tense in the courtroom. Simon was really teary at times. He was asking for boxes of tissues, as you said. And also when we turned around and had a look at Erin Patterson in the dock, she was really emotional, especially today as well, when they were talking about their children. That seemed to be a moment where she really started to tear up. I also found it really interesting that she would glance over at her ex quite a lot as he was giving his evidence.
She really did stare a lot at Simon Patterson, her estranged husband, during his evidence. And we did see right up on the screens in the courtroom, as did the jurors, text messages, a lot of text messages over the last couple of days between the two of them, but particularly one that Simon Patterson sent the night before this lunch. He was invited to the lunch, but he said to Erin Patterson in this text message, I don't feel comfortable coming, and I'm happy to discuss the health issues and any implications that they might have with you over the phone, but that I basically wasn't going to be there with his parents and his auntie and uncle. And we got the response from Erin Patterson to that as well, which was shown to the court.
We did. So when those text messages went up on the screen, Erin Patterson.
Okay, let's do it. Dali, and also Schnibbles with the 10 excited utterance memberships, 10 subs. Bringing it. 10 subs, chasing those grays away. Thank you. Much appreciated, mate. What a legend. You're helping me keep that Fire D going. I really appreciate your support and welcome new members. Make sure that you click through to the membership tab and come over to the Discord. And I am planning a lot of new member-only content, guys. So make sure that you become a member or keep your memberships going. I appreciate you so much, Snivels. Thank you. Okay, so Dali.
Yes.
You want to be the green?
Sure. Hey, I feel too uncomfortable about coming to lunch.
You have to keep going.
Oh, but happy to talk about your health and implications at another time.
Before I start doing my actual text, I've just got to say I'm really disappointed with your Australian accent.
Oh, you want to do an Australian accent?
That would be good, yeah.
Oh. I feel too uncomfortable about coming to lunch, but happy to talk about your health and implications at another time.
Oh my
No.
God, that's your Nick Swedish.
It's also my Indian.
Yeah, okay, never mind.
And Canadian.
That's really disappointing. Spent many hours this week preparing the lunch. Exhausting in the light of the health issues I'm facing. I want it to be a special meal because I might not be able to have a lunch like this again.
Well, it was.
Well, she couldn't. It's true. She was right about that. Hang on. Do they actually show the whole thing?
And basically responded to Simon saying,
uncle, and I'm happy to discuss the health issues and any.
Okay, that's really disappointing. I've spent many hours this week preparing the lunch for tomorrow, which has been exhausting in light of the health issues I'm facing. I spent a small fortune on beef eye fillet to make beef Wellingtons.
I'm sure.
Why did they leave that out? I wanted it to be a special meal because I might not be able to have a lunch like this again. It's important to me that you're there tomorrow. I hope you change. I think it says your mind. I hope you change your mind.
How much is beef fillet there?
A lot.
Yeah.
Like, enough for a lunch like that, probably $50.
Well, like per pound? Oh.
We don't use pounds.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, forget it.
Okay, so like $50 for all of them, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Probably
any implications that they might have with you over the phone.
When those text messages went up on the screen, Erin Patterson basically responded to Simon saying, I'm really disappointed that you don't want to come along to this lunch. She said she had taken a lot of time preparing for it again.
Now, the court was also shown a lot of other text messages, especially in the second day of evidence for Simon Patterson. Under cross-examination, he was asked a lot about some messages that went back and forth between he and Erin Patterson after they'd separated, but about his mother, Gail's 70th birthday lunch. And
all this
read out by him, some of those text messages from Erin Patterson and by the defence, where she said she was very...
This one. You're blue.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to maximize it. Hey, are you coming to Hey, are you coming to Mom's birthday lunch at the pub with the kids? Hey.
Oh, God. I don't know anything about your mom's birthday tomorrow.
Wow.
Very hurt and that she wouldn't...
No wonder they broke up.
There you
Glad
go,
I asked. Mom turns 70 tomorrow and is keen to have something to celebrate for her birthday. No presents, though. Dad mentioned he thought he'd ask you and you'd said Yes. However, I mentioned it to the kids the other day, and they didn't seem to have heard it. So I wondered if Dodd was confused. Great! If you can make it, but no drama llamas if not.
She wouldn't go where she wasn't wanted.
Okay. I'm not too sure how your dad could have been confused. It seems that my invite tomorrow is a bit of an afterthought, so I might pass, thanks, as I might not go somewhere if I'm not welcome. The
Ugh.
kids can go if they want. I'll let you know if they want you to come and pick them up. Can you read
Like,
that?
oh, come on, Erin. That's ridiculous. You really think? Grody.
Really think what?
Those
Here we
Dad
go.
is lying.
messages.
Ugh. Gag me with a spoon.
What I reckon is everyone forgot to invite me to this thing,
saying
and I feel very upset.
Good Lord, what is she, a YouTube streamer?
Well, I can remember this is like 7 months prior, right? I think the prosecution is making a lot out of something that's kind of nothing,
That
considering
was how
that
long? I'm sorry.
this is 7 months prior,
Oh, yeah, that's dumb.
right? So 7 months prior, and she seems to have gotten along very well with the mother since, like very well with
Yeah.
the mother since. There seems to be no problem with the mother since then. Like I just feel like they're beating something up. It's just nothing. So
Yeah, I really
that she
hate how
felt
they
she'd been
twist
invited as an afterthought to a lunch the next day at the pub that came.
this one, I get you're mad at me.
Uh,
Can you read that?
Like, I get you're mad at me, and I get why. At this point, I can only ask you to consider Mum and her fifis as she turns the big 7-0 tomorrow. I know they would love you to be there.
I told your parents I'd come to the lunch and I'd bring the kids with me.
Excellent. Thanks for that, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ta-ta.
So that got sorted out pretty easily. Why
Aw.
does this have to come into court? This is
It's
stupid.
like the easiest going Australian I've ever met.
Yeah.
Well before this particular fateful mushroom meal was held at her home, but it was also aiding and dealing with he and his family regarding some child support issues.
Yeah, I think he used the word tense at times. He definitely said, was it extremely aggressive, I think, which the defense questioned him about. But he said their relationship did become quite strained and tense. And it wasn't just tense for him, but he claimed that it was also quite tense for his parents, Don and Gail Patterson, between them and Erin, which is interesting because on one of the other days as well, we heard that Erin Patterson actually had what seemed to be a really fantastic relationship with his father, Don, and he made a point of that during one of the days. So it was really interesting to hear about how all these relationships soured over the years.
And Amber, we heard from Simon Patterson. He told the prosecutor while he was being questioned on his first day of evidence that his father had really been struggling in the hospital after he had fallen ill following this meal at Erin Patterson's home, and that he was really in pain, and that's when his voice really broke and he really struggled to talk about that. Now, Simon Patterson is still on the witness stand technically. He's still under cross-examination. He will return to the witness stand on Monday. For more on the case, search the mushroom trial, say great.
Okay, so that was last week, so we're going to move on. All right, so then, like, as I said before, there was someone who survived, and when there's someone who survived, they can obviously testify, and this here is the guy who survived, and he got on the witness stand and spoke about his ordeal. So let's have a bit of a look at that.
Tonight, gripping testimony in the Leongatha mushroom murder trial as the sole survivor of the deadly beef Wellington lunch spoke of his harrowing ordeal, shedding new light on exactly what happened that day.
For the first time since the lethal lunch, accused triple murderer Erin Patterson sat face to face with sole surviving guest Ian Wilkinson, a local pastor and uncle of Erin Patterson's estranged husband, Simon. Under questioning, Ian detailed his relationship with Erin and the unexpected lunch invitation.
There was no reason for the lunch. It seemed like maybe our relationship with Erin was going to improve.
The focus then turned to the lunch itself. Ian recounted Erin refusing any help from Heather and Gail and plating all the food herself, including her own meal on a different coloured dish.
Erin picked up the odd plate and placed it on the table. She took it to her place on the table.
Ian says he and his wife both ate their whole meals and became sick that night before being rushed to hospital the next day. Heather died less than a week after the lunch, while Ian spent almost 2 months fighting for his life in hospital. Ian recalled Heather raising the issue of the different coloured plates before her death.
We might have discussed it a couple of times, actually. Heather reminding me that there were different plates.
Under cross-examination, Ian admitted Erin did not have allocated seating for her guests and didn't give directions on where the plates should be placed, although he remained adamant that Erin's plate was different to the others.
The plate was smaller, a different coloured plate.
Erin Patterson has pleaded not guilty to 3 charges of murder and 1 of attempted murder.
We are live from the lands of the Kulin Nation. Joining us now is 10 News First Samantha Butler, who is in Morwell and following this. Sam, we heard that Ian spoke about just how sick he and his wife became. How was he during the testimony?
Well, Ian Wilkinson was really quite calm and composed in the witness box today, recalling that the day of that fateful lunch, which claimed the life of his wife as well as his close friends, Don and Gail Patterson. He even laughed during some of the lighter moments, remembering his wife and how excited they were to attend that lunch at Erin Patterson's Leongatha home. But we also did learn more about how unwell they were after the lunch and the treatment they received. We heard in court that doctors initially thought they had run-of-the-mill food poisoning, that it was just gastro, until a toxicologist raised the possibility of death cap mushroom poisoning. At the time, they were in different hospitals, Heather and Ian in one, Don and Gail in the other. And we heard that Don didn't receive an antidote for death cap mushroom poisoning initially because they didn't realise anyone else was ill. But that changed quite quickly when tests came back for the other lunch guests and they were all suffering the similar symptoms.
We also heard about Erin's pantry. What can you tell us about that?
Pantry?
Yeah, well, Ian Wilkinson really opened up about the discussions that they had when they first got to Erin Patterson's Leongatha home for the lunch in July 2023. And the pantry was something that really stuck out to Heather Wilkinson because she had just built a pantry in her own house. She walked over, we heard during court, she walked over towards the pantry, but Ian said that Erin was reluctant to follow her. And that was something that really stood out to him. He thought, you know, perhaps the pantry was just a mess and she was embarrassed about it. He didn't follow her over, but that was something that really stood out to him that we heard today during the court trial.
Sam, we know they're religious people and they said grace before the meal, but then they also said a prayer after they ate. What was that about?
Yeah, well, what we heard today from Ian Wilkinson is that after the lunch, there was a bit of lighthearted banter, but that quickly turned serious when Erin Patterson revealed that she had been diagnosed with cancer. Ian said that she was quite concerned that the diagnosis was serious and potentially life-threatening, and she was quite anxious about how to break that news to her 2 children. The lunch guests advised her to be honest, and then Pastor Ian Wilkinson, who has been a pastor at Corranborough Baptist Church for 26 years, led a prayer for her health and that she would receive the treatment that she needed. Now, we do know, of course, that cancer claim Erin made was in fact false. The court has heard that, and that is a fact that is not disputed by her defence team.
Sam, this is a case and a story that has drawn huge interest from around the globe. So what's the kind of buzz been like around the town where you are?
People are there is a huge media contingency here in Morwell, both from Australia and overseas as well. To give you a bit of an idea, we have a reporter here filing for the BBC, as well as a crew that is creating a documentary for the streaming platform Stan. And that means that the accommodation around Morwell is pretty much fully booked. A lot of people have actually had to go to surrounding towns to find a room. And the hospitality operators we've spoken to certainly seem to welcome that boost in business. But this is a trial that has put Morwell on the map. It's a small regional town here in Victoria.
This is great for tourism.
Wow.
Awesome.
Victoria has mushroom fever.
Mushroom fever. dear me. Oh, noes. Well, okay, so then this happened, right? I'm not quite sure whose testimony this was, but this is pretty kind of bad.
As a member of an online true crime group, Erin Patterson told of her love of mushrooms and was excited about getting a new dehydrator, according to her Facebook friends.
Oh,
Three of
no.
those friends appeared today in Morwell at Ms Patterson's triple murder trial. One Facebook friend, Daniela Barkley, told prosecutors Ms Patterson sent a group message in the months before the lunch, saying, "I've been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything. Mixed into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea." Ms Barkley telling the court cooking was a favourite topic amongst the group. And Ms Patterson...
Wait. I've been hiding powdered mushrooms in everything. Mixed into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea. What? Why?
This is going great.
Oh, dude. Oh, no. Oh, mushroom brownies or shroom brownies. Okay, so mushrooms are supposed to have a lot of iron in them, right? Like, maybe she's just really, really wants her kids to eat veggies and they just won't. And she's telling her friends about this stuff. Who would have thought that? Okay, let's assume this is a big accident. Just for a minute. Let's just assume this is a giant accident, right? She likes to go foraging for mushrooms. She likes mushrooms. She has a dehydrator. She's got a new dehydrator. Great. So she's dehydrating mushrooms. She's powdering them up and she's like, oh, wow, this is a really good way for me to get some iron content into my kids' diet, right? So she's doing that. She's like telling her friends on Facebook about it. And then one day she happens to pick the wrong mushrooms and puts them in her family's lunch, right? 3 people die. And then all this stuff that she's been talking about online comes out to bite her, right? So it all ends up being circumstantial evidence that just accumulates against her. It's like your worst fucking nightmare, right? Or she's actually a murderer. Digital evidence, guys. It's like I feel like all this stuff can end up just being stuff that adds up to be a totality of evidence in the eyes of a jury because there's so much of it.
Everything mixed into chocolate brownies yesterday. The kids had no idea. Ms Barkley telling the court cooking was a favourite topic amongst the group, and Ms Patterson had asked for advice on how to cook beef Wellington 2 weeks before the fatal lunch, which killed Don and Gail Patterson and Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson, while Pastor Ian Wilkinson survived after a long stint in hospital. Ms Barkley says she specifically remembered the conversation because she was mostly a vegetarian and didn't know what a beef Wellington was. Another friend, Jenny Hay, told the court she spoke to Ms Patterson after the lunch, who told her the mushrooms used in the beef Wellington were from an Asian grocer. Erin Patterson's relationship with her estranged husband was also raised in group chats. Ms Barkley told the court the couple's conflicting religious beliefs caused some tension in the relationship. Sometimes he put the church before her and his family. Another Facebook friend, Christine Hunt, told the court the accused described Simon Patterson as controlling and coercive. Earlier, Mr Patterson faced his third and final day on the witness stand. Defence lawyer Colin Mandy SC asked him about a conversation he had with Erin Patterson at hospital 2 days after the lunch in relation to the food dehydrator. "You said to Erin, 'Is this what you used to poison them?' To which Mr Patterson replied, 'I did not say that.'" Ms Patterson has pleaded not guilty to all charges. The trial continues. Sasha Payne, ABC News, Morwell.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't look good. But it could be nothing, right? Could it? All right. So then we have the doctor, right? Or there's two doctors actually. But the doctor that saw Erin in hospital is actually the one that raised the alarm for the cops, right? So he knocked. But, I suppose that's what he has to do. Hey, Emma, how are you? 3 days on the stand is a long time. Yeah. Pretty much the first week and a bit was the husband and the survivor, Ian. So then we get into the doctor's testimony and the Facebook friends and that. So
a doctor who treated sick lunch guests for mushroom poisoning says he told Erin Patterson she could die without urgent treatment. Leongatha Hospital physician Dr. Chris Webster telling Ms. Patterson's Supreme Court murder trial today he called police to bring her back after she discharged herself against medical advice. I was surprised, he said. I had just informed her that she had potentially been exposed to deadly death cap mushrooms, and I thought hospital was a better place for her to be.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Webster told the court he had already been treating Heather and Ian Wilkinson when Ms. Patterson arrived at hospital the next day, complaining of gastro. When he found out she was the lunch host and her...
Oh, hang on. Miss Patterson arrived at hospital the next day herself, complaining of gastro. Did she? Wait. Herself?
Already been treating Heather and Ian Wilkinson when Ms. Patterson arrived at hospital the next day, complaining of gastro. When he found out she was the lunch host and her children had eaten leftovers, he insisted the children also get checked out. She was concerned they would be frightened, Dr. Webster said. I said they could be scared and alive or dead. The court was played the 000 call from Dr. Webster to police. Ms. Patterson returned to hospital while police were at her house, with Dr. Webster asking her permission for police to bring back leftovers for testing. The court was also shown CCTV of another doctor on call, Dr. Veronica Foote, examining the leftover beef Wellington. Dr. Foote said tests on Ms. Patterson had indicated regular blood pressure and temperature, but an elevated heart rate, which eventually settled. Earlier today, the court heard Heather Wilkinson rave to church members about the lovely lunch they'd just had at Ms. Patterson's home. One church member telling the court in a statement, Ms. Wilkinson said the beef Wellington was delicious.
Delicious.
Erin Patterson has pleaded not guilty to 3 charges of murder and 1 count of attempted murder.
Okay, so there's something interesting about this because the media here has been making out like she didn't want to be at hospital. They made a huge deal of the fact that she checked herself out of hospital 5 minutes after finding out that she had had the death cap mushrooms and that the doctor had said that they would need to get the children in, etc. Right? And she did check herself out 5 minutes later, and she did not want the children to be at the hospital, right? She seems to be a panic artist. Like, she seems to be someone who's like, oh, no, I don't want that to happen, right? And you can kind of tell that from the footage we saw of her. She seems to get really, like, riled up. But she's the one who went to hospital in the first place, right? So she was feeling sick. She was feeling sick enough to go to the hospital. So they checked her out, and they went, oh, hang on, are you the one who held a lunch yesterday? We've got 3 people here who are, like, critically ill. Did you host that lunch? And she's like, yeah. And they went, oh, you need to stay here. And she's like, oh, no, and not my children. No, they're going to be scared. And she checks herself out, right? And then when the police came along, you know what happened? They said to her, oh, do you know if there's any leftovers of the meal? And she told them where to find it. Like, she let them find the leftovers in the bin. So, yeah, she did a lot of things in panic, and she didn't want to be at the hospital, and she didn't want her kids to be at the hospital. She said they would panic, but she didn't try to hide the actual meal, right? So I'm kind of conflicted here in that maybe she actually felt sick on her own volition, and maybe she really didn't want the kids to be exposed to panic and fear, and maybe she was just like a super anxious person. Don't know. I'm just like playing devil's advocate. I know I am, but I try to see these things from like I know that prosecutors just like put all of these bad facts together as much as they can and throw out any good ones.
The trial continues.
Oh, yes, it does. All right, let's keep going. But the lunch was delicious.
Yes.
Gail and Don Patterson's daughter fought back tears as
Oh, the
she
daughter.
sat in the witness box. Anna Terrington telling the jury despite the separation of Simon and Erin, there was no animosity between Erin and her parents. She said she spoke with her mother after the lunch in July 2023. I called to ask how the lunch went. Mum said it went well. Did she say what they ate? Yes, she said they had beef Wellington and she had too much, so Dad finished it off. The jury also heard from Ian and Heather Wilkinson's daughter, Ruth Dubois. When asked about her relationship with Patterson, she said while they knew each other, she was more of an acquaintance. Ms Dubois told the jury about her reaction when her mother, Heather, told her they were invited to Patterson's house for lunch. She said that at church the previous weekend she was talking with Gail after the service and Erin had come to them and said, just the two I was looking for, and invited them to lunch. We were surprised as that had never happened before. Erin Patterson's former brother-in-law told the court his brother Simon and Erin always appeared amicable and respectful of each other, but following the separation, their conversations were more mechanical. During cross-examination, Matthew Patterson was asked about a meeting he had with Erin in 2021 to discuss a possible reconciliation with Simon. Erin expressed to you that she was sad the relationship couldn't move forward. Yes. And that they both wanted to reconcile, but only if Simon would get marriage counselling, some sort of counselling. She was seeking your advice about how to get him to do that. Yes. The court was played a phone call from Dr. Chris Webster from the Leongatha Hospital made to police after Erin refused treatment and discharged herself. Dr. Webster was treating Ian and Heather Wilkinson, and when it became clear the couple had likely suffered from death cap mushroom poisoning, he urged Erin to stay for observation and treatment, knowing she had eaten the same meal. 50-year-old Patterson has pleaded not guilty to all the charges against her. The trial continues. Gloria Kleisch.
Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, now the last thing that happened, this was yesterday, and that's Friday. So it's Friday your time now, isn't it? So this is the last bit of testimony. They got her kids out. Yeah. I don't think the kids anymore. Oh, it was like 2 years ago.
The mushroom murder trial jury has heard from the victims' children who fought
no,
back tears as they described being at their dying parents' bedsides.
Oh, dear.
The court also heard the lunch guests raved about the fatal meal prior to falling ill.
3 bereaved children mourning the loss of 3 loving parents, Matthew Patterson, Anna Terrington and Ruth Dubois, describing what it was like to see Don Patterson, Gail Patterson and Heather Wilkinson deteriorate in hospital after they were all allegedly poisoned by accused mushroom killer
This
Erin
all sounds a
Patterson.
little bit like victim
The
impact
Patterson's
statement, not
daughter
really
Anna wept as she told of how she'd raced to Dandenong Hospital
like it's
after
testimony
her parents
about
fell
her.
gravely ill, describing how she'd looked after her mother overnight, taking her to the bathroom many times. Anna's brother Matthew said he'd been with his father in intensive care when toxicology staff inquired where the mushrooms in the dish had come from. He then phoned his sister-in-law, Ms. Patterson, to ask the question. She mentioned there were fresh mushrooms from Woolies and there were dried mushrooms from a Chinese grocer or supermarket in the Oakley area. The Wilkinsons' daughter Ruth told the jury she'd been confused when her mother told her she'd been invited to the lunch. She said she viewed Ms. Patterson as more of an acquaintance. She said that at church the previous weekend she was talking to Gail after the service.
So this whole thing about being confused about being invited. So what? You get invited. Like, that's nice. She invited the daughter of the Pattersons, right? At church. She knew she was having this lunch. She probably knew by then that the husband wasn't turning up either, right? And so now she's using this, the prosecution is using this as some sort of character evidence against the accused that she would invite her to lunch. Like, what's this got to do with anything? Oh, she invited us to lunch and she said, just the two I was looking for. Right? Like, there's some sort of lab rats to also test out her poison on. Like, she invited two people to lunch. They're also kind of family as well. Big deal.
Service, and Erin said, "Oh, just the two I was looking for," and asked them to lunch, to which point I responded, "Really?" Ms. Patterson has pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of murder over the deaths of the 3 lunch guests. Heather's husband Ian, who also ate the meal, was the only guest to survive. After spending yesterday in the witness box, he today returned to court to observe the proceedings. The trial continues tomorrow. And Mitch, the court also heard from a friend of Heather Wilkinson who says she described the meal Erin Patterson prepared as a lovely lunch. She described the individually made beef Wellingtons as delicious and beautiful, and also playfully teased her husband Ian, who survived the lunch, for how much he had eaten. Of course, that meal is now the subject of this 6-week murder trial. Evidence continues tomorrow. Mitch?
Estelle Greepink at Morwell, thank you.
All right, so what's looking bad for Erin? Let's see. A few things. They did seem to like it. Yeah. The food was to die for. All right, well, what's looking bad for her? Okay, so the cancer lie's pretty bad. Right? No matter whether it's completely unrelated to the crime, and it is completely unrelated to the crime. Let's just be clear about that. Yeah. It's just, you can't tie the two things together, but the jury's going to hate it. Right? Like, lying about cancer is pretty fucking bad.
Oh, yeah.
It makes her look like an absolute witch. So the cancer lies, yeah, that's bad. That's bad. The yellow plate, right? So she served her meal on a different color plate. There were 4 gray plates that were for the guests, and there was a yellow plate for herself. Now, I saw your reaction in chat when that came up, and for me, that's no biggie. I'm like, well, if I don't even have a set of more than 4 matching plates in my house. So if I've got 4 matching plates, I'm going to give them to my guests, and I'm going to give myself the non-matching one, because that's, you know what I mean? It's like, how many matching plates do you have in your house?
I have no idea what you mean, but I'm single and live by myself, so I don't.
Oh, okay. So you never have guests over anyway, right?
That too.
But if you so think about it this way: like, after you've lived for a while and you've had guests over for a bit, and you've had sets of crockery. Do you call them crockery there? Plates, right? Well, sets of plates and cups and things like that. Some go missing, some get cracked. You've got kids, they get wrecked, and eventually you end up with not as many as you originally had. So say that you had a nice set of plates, you might only have 4 or 5 left, right? So if you got guests over, you'd give the ones that match to the guests, and you would take your odd plates and you'd keep them for yourself and your kids, right? So that's not that odd to me that the guests would get the matching plates. So and sometimes you have sets of 4 as well, so you can buy sets of 4. Yeah, so to me that is not necessarily a sign of her putting her own one on a plate that doesn't have poisoned mushrooms on it. But it looks really bad. The prosecution has pulled this out and used it as a sign of her looking like she has intent to put the poison ones onto the grey plates.
Yeah.
And it's worked. Like, people are buying this one. Like, people have gone, oh, why has she done that? Fair. Good strategy. Good strategy. So yeah, the yellow plate is bad. Trying to get the ex to show up. So those text messages where she's like really disappointed and sort of trying to guilt him into turning up. Oh, well, I spent all this money. Why didn't you show up? Yeah, that kind of looks like she was planning on taking the whole lot of them out.
Yeah. Going for the
Yeah,
trifecta.
it's probably it could be dodgy, Eddie, and the point of all this circumstantial evidence is to sort of make it all sort of build up, so it could be dodgy along with a lot of other things. So yeah, checking out of the hospital despite imminent death. That could be dodgy, right? So the whole like, oh, you've just been told that you probably ingested, well, almost definitely ingested death cap mushrooms, and they have like a 99% chance of you keeling over and dying
Okay,
within
maybe she wanted
24
to go
hours.
complete her bucket list.
Yeah. And yeah, your dinner guests are all in critical condition right now, so you should probably stay exactly where you are, and your kids should probably come to hospital right now. And instead, 5 minutes after that, she gets up, goes to the reception desk, ticks a form that says this is against doctor's orders, and leaves. And the cops and the doctor who diagnosed her goes and calls the cops. So that one's kind of bad. That one's kind of bad. And the defense explains this as her being panicked.
Yeah.
So those things are kind of bad. Anyone got more? Oh, I missed the thing about the Facebook friends and the
Oh yeah.
yeah, the powdering up of the mushrooms and putting them in and things. Yeah. So that kind of looks bad, I guess. Hey Lacey, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but okay. And P.S. by the way, this true crime friend chat that she's got going on. So, oh dear, true crime friend chat, guys. They'll stab you in the back if you get done for murder. So
Oh
watch
yeah.
out.
They're the worst people to be your friends if you're gonna do this.
Yeah, like she was. You might look this up. This
Just
has
know
come
she's
to
a
evidence.
guilter.
She's a guilter. I bet she's a guilter. Right?
Everybody's
Yeah.
guilty, and now
Everybody's guilty, and now she's like, oh damn. So get this right. So she's been following this Australian case called the Kelly Lane case, right? And you can look this up on Netflix. There's a 3-part series about it. I watched it, and Kelly Lane is known to be a baby killer. So she has these. She was a sports star, but she had babies secretly. She hid her pregnancies and then had the children and disposed of the bodies. So very sad. So she was following this Kelly Lane case and talking about it online with this group chat, and probably doing the whole, she's so evil kind of thing. And Kelly Lane is not a nice person. Yeah, so these are the kind of people that she was talking with. And so she got these 3 Facebook friends who've now come out and sort of spoken about her. And P.S. one more thing before I come out of the what's looking bad for Erin screen. There has been some discussions outside the presence of the jury, and this has been reported on mainstream media, so take it with a grain of salt. Right, some discussions outside the presence of the jury, and this is in relation to the evidence of her supposedly telling these people about her going foraging and apparently searching for where to find death cap mushrooms. Now, this will be her nail in her coffin if it's true.
Yeah.
Right? Apparently searching, and then on this iNaturalist app, right, there, because there's location services turned on this app, you will be able to see that she went to those areas to look for them. Right? So there's been discussions outside the presence of the jury as to whether this can come in. Now, of course, because there are reporters in the gallery and they've heard these arguments, this shit's gone out on the radio, on the TV, and the general public who's heard this have gone, oh, she's done, she's guilty. Right? Now, I don't know, because I've heard this second, third hand. I don't know whether it's actually true that she searched for that. That's just what people are taking from these reports, right? I don't know whether she physically searched in where can I find like death cap mushrooms near me.
Yeah.
Right? I doubt that's what she searched for, but who knows? Maybe she did. If she did, I can't imagine it not coming into evidence, right?
No.
But if she did, and then there is location services like GPS or some app to show that she went out and actually foraged in those areas that she searched, of course that's going to come in and she's screwed. Right? But this has all happened outside the presence of the jury, and hello, Sarah. Outside the presence of the jury, and it hasn't come into evidence yet. The general population's talking about it. There's lots of just speculation. People think she's way guilty because of stuff that's not gone to the jury yet, or we don't know if it will go to the jury yet.
Yeah.
So I'm very skeptical about it at this point. I've had some arguments with family members over this because they're like, oh, she's guilty. She searched for death cap mushrooms near me. I'm like, we don't know that. Oh, it was on the radio. And I'm like, does it mean anything? Oh, but they can't say that because if it's not true and they said that, then they could get sued. And I'm like,
very naive.
us, yes, life.
You there? Hello? Hello? Oh. Oh. Are you there? Hello? You're muted. Hi. Can you unmute? Okay. We're just gonna... Sorry, guys.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can't.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
It's all Sarah's fault.
Oh.
Seraph is unplugging everything. He just fell asleep on all the cords.
I was wondering, you went silent for a second. Freaked me out.
Yeah, I went silent because he fell asleep on all the cords. He just went on all the cords. Yes, I froze. Yeah, my internet went weird, and my mic went weird, and the screen over there I couldn't move it. It's because he just went and unplugged everything. Yes. Okay. What's looking okay for Erin? Well, she makes a mean beef Wellington.
Oh, we know what you'll do in prison.
That's true. Okay, so the in-laws actually seem to like her. So here's the thing, right? They didn't go over there and there's no motive. I can't see a motive. There's nothing. Why would she want to kill these people? Why? It makes no sense. Like, I know you don't need a motive,
No,
but
but
come on now.
unless it was like to spite her ex-husband, but
She got on really well with them. She loved them,
yeah.
she said, right? So it just and her children, like her kids love them, like their grandparents and auntie and uncle, or great auntie and uncle, right? Like I don't, but there's nothing. She's got no like violent history or anything. Like what? It's not a money thing either. She's got money, by the way, right? Like one thing that I haven't brought up is she and her husband lent $400,000 to his sister years earlier to help buy their house. Right. So they've got money. These aren't poor people.
Was she paying her
Right.
back?
Yes. So she was paying them back when they were still together. She was paying back the repayments to both of them. And then when they estranged, she started paying back just the husband. So, but there's like, from what I can tell, it's not an issue.
Okay.
She's got money. Yeah. So it doesn't seem to be money motivated. She's loaded. $12 million inheritance. Yeah, that's right. Her money, not his. Yep. Yeah. So I just can't see why she would even consider wanting to do this. There's no. So I mean, yeah, you don't need a motive, but God, it would be nice, like especially for somebody like this who's got money, like a couple of kids, nice house. She seems to be a little bitter towards him, but he wasn't even there.
Yeah,
So
but that's not necessarily anything.
yeah, and the in-laws seem to like her. So it's very weird. She what's looking good for her? She hides veggies in her kids' food. She's nice to her kids. She prays. She's religious.
Sure, she's praying now.
I'm sure she's praying now. But yeah, I don't know. I tend to think I don't actually know. Here's the other thing, right? I don't actually know what the deal is with Australian juries. I don't know how likely they are to find her guilty or not guilty because they don't get televised. You don't hear about them much. So I don't know whether or not juries here in Australia are like they are in America, where they just like love to find people guilty. From what I've seen here in Queensland, not so much. Like you do get quite a few not guilties. So, but this one is really, really injected with emotion and publicity, and it is being held in the town where it happened. I believe there was a motion for a change of venue that got denied. So, she's definitely guilty by media at the moment. No question about it. Definitely. But yeah, I don't know how they got an impartial jury for this, or if it really is an impartial jury. Because yeah, it's a small community. They've been very invested in this for a long time. So I don't know what people think about it around there. But it's good for tourism.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got some Airbnbs there.
Oh yeah. Right, so I'm going to keep this going. This is only just started. We're only on the prosecution's case, second week, and I think they'll probably have another week or so of their case. Defense case will probably take a week, I would think. So I think probably about 2 more weeks of it.
And depending on how exciting it is, I might do like weekly updates or even a bit more, something like that. Let me know if you're interested in this, and I'll respond with like I might do just like some little short videos and things to keep you updated. But also become a member, guys, because I'll post things on our Discord and do some member-only updates too, because that is really helpful to the channel as well. So thank you for all your support. Also, people in the comments later, let me know what you think of this. I like to withhold judgment. I don't necessarily think that she didn't do this, guys. I just like to put out some doubt, because you know we're supposed to hold people to presumption of innocence. We're supposed to.
In theory.
In theory, yeah. So I just don't know. Could it be a big, terrible accident, and then what they go and do is find all the things that could possibly point to her guilt and go, here, throw all this at you. It's possible. It's possible she planned it, but that's what they have to prove, that she planned it, that it was intentional. Not that it happened, because we know it happened.
Sure.
We know it happened. Yeah, thank you for being here. And now it's time for the song. It's time for the song.
Her name was Helen. She was an Aussie. She was a fake lawyer from the future. She got on YouTube and made some live streams. The co-host is Dolly and she dances sometimes. The words are always so loud, and because she's an 8 or 3. To the attention, excited utterance. Her cat is